Hello everybody, welcome to the Pay It Forward Mentoring Workshop. I'm going to talk a little bit about the idea of the workshop in this video. So the title of the workshop is Pay It Forward. That means that somewhere along the line, maybe you got something from somebody else, now's your chance to pay it forward. Maybe it was a teacher that inspired you when you were in elementary school, but hopefully also you had somebody who inspired you or mentored you as you became a professional. Maybe it was somebody at your university where you got certified. Maybe it was somebody in one of your first jobs. Maybe it was somebody that had a formal relationship with you as a mentor. And maybe it was somebody you just admired as a teacher that you like to watch and have conversations with, share ideas with, and you learned a lot from them. And now is your chance to pass along some of the things that you've learned to somebody else. Just last week, I had my final meetings with student teachers, and one of my student teachers said something to me that was pretty profound and that I think is a good thing to understand about mentoring. I asked her typical kind of question I ask, which is, what did you learn from student teaching? And her answer was, teaching is intentional. Now, she didn't mean by that you have to have good lesson plans. She had good lesson plans when she started student teaching. She already knew about that. What she meant was that as a student, and even as an early education student, she thought a lot of the good things that happened in classrooms just happened. And in student teaching, she realized they had to be intentional. Or another way of putting it, they had to be thoughtful. So she thought teachers with good classroom environments had good classroom environments just because they did. And then she realized there are some things you can do that are definitely mistakes, and if you do them, things are going to go downhill quickly. And if you think through things well and make some other choices, classroom environment will improve. So she began to see a lot of things in teaching as intentional or as something that she had to be thoughtful about, and not just how she was going to deliver instruction. So I want to say the same thing is probably a good idea to start with in mentoring. And that is, mentoring is not something that just happens. It's something that's intentional. So I have seen a lot of very, very good classroom teachers who aren't necessarily good mentors. And the reason is, in my opinion, is because they don't take on the role of teacher when they become mentor. They take on more of the role of supervisor or as director, and don't think of themselves as the good teacher that they are and apply the lessons of teaching to mentoring. It's easy to say, well, they're an adult, they should already know this, and all I have to do is tell them what the requirements are, or tell them to do X, Y, and Z, and then they'll do X, Y, and Z. No, you have to really be thoughtful about how to build on their prior knowledge, how to think about where they're coming from, how to think about what's going to work with that particular new teacher, just like you have to do with your students, knowing that I can explain something in this way to this student, but I better not say it that way to another student. You have to think through all that stuff when you're working with a new teacher. All right, I also want to bring up a couple dilemmas that I think are going to be important for us to think about in this course. They're both related. The first one is the fact that you have some power in this relationship, and at the same time you want to establish trust. So obviously you want to have trust so that you can share ideas openly. And if the person you're mentoring doesn't trust you, you're really not going to be able to help them at all. But on the other hand, depending on how your mentoring is structured, it might be perceived that you have some power even over whether or not the person you're mentoring gets a job or is able to keep their job. So that's going to be a tough thing to establish the trust, the openness, while still being able to fulfill whatever evaluation responsibilities you might have. All right, now related to that is a little bit more specific. That is, the new teacher evaluation system in the Danielson rubric creates a tighter structure for expectations. Now, within that structure, there's a lot of latitude, and it can be interpreted in different ways by different people. And there's lots of good ways to be a good teacher and still score well on the Danielson rubric. But that may not be the perception of a new teacher. They may think they have to do things just a certain way. They may think they have to copy you, or they may think they have to follow a prescribed format. So another thing that you have to negotiate or try to figure out is, on the one hand, how do you help your new teacher understand the language of the Danielson rubric so that they can be successful with it. But on the other hand, how not to squelch their creativity, how to encourage them to love the profession and find out how they can be themselves as a new teacher. So I look forward to working with you throughout this workshop, to discussing some of these ideas, and also to discussing the kind of questions and challenges that you have on your mind. See you in the discussion boards and maybe in some of these videos.